Hello everybody and welcome to Old World, a Civilization style game created by the lead designer of Civilization 4. So in this video, I'm going to be introducing you to some of Old World's most unique features, so that you can see if it appeals to you. It's kind of a hard comparison to make sometimes between Civilization and Old World, just because there is a lot of areas where they differ, and it's almost personal preference whether you like it or not. Civ spans many eras while Old World focuses on one. Civ has leaders that live forever but have these big unique buffs, while Old World has character aging and lineages. Civ's got more of a cartoonish aesthetic in Civ 6, but Old World is more grounded like Civ 5. So it just kind of depends what you like, in some regards at least. But either way, just as a 4X game, I've really been enjoying this, and it's got some really unique ideas I think worth showcasing, so let's begin. So the first thing is the time frame. Old World has a much more focused in time frame than a Civilization game. It's set at the beginning of the Iron Age, with several civilizations starting with the Ironworks technology, and some start without it. The game moves at one turn per year, with the tech tree ending with technologies like the lateen sail, barding for horses, sarissa spears, and windlass mechanics, all technologies that predate Christianity. Though, with religion, after several other religions are established, you can found Christianity near the end of the game. So there are no Dark Ages, Medieval, Renaissance, or anything like that. It's classical antiquity. This doesn't mean that the game is strictly historical or follow any sort of timeline. The 7 leaders currently in the game all come from wildly varying different dates, with the earliest being the Egyptian ruler Hatshepsut being born around 1500 BC, and the latest being King Philip II of Macedon being born around 400 BC. So these two leaders exist at the same time in the game together, as do all leaders in between, just like a Civ game. So I just thought that was worth mentioning for people that were bothered by having famous leaders from different time periods clash in Civilization. That's still technically true here, just to a lesser degree. They're instead just a sort of in the rough same time period, and of course, as the game does move at one turn per year, your rulers do eventually die and are replaced by their children, which as far as I know, don't follow any historical lineage. Philip starts with Alexander already born, but beyond that, no other historical characters surface later on. So in this regard, your starting rulers really don't matter that much. Apart from just a few personality traits here and there, you'll largely care about the buffs that you get for your kingdom, and then as well the different family buffs that you have within it. The next big features to talk about are characters and events. So with time passing and rulers coming and going, there's a big emphasis on managing your lineage. All government types in the game are monarchies, but you can choose the laws of inheritance to change who's going to be your next ruler, or you could override it for a cost and set the heir manually. Characters have 4 personality traits: courage, charisma, discipline, and wisdom, and these are tied to 4 of the global resources: training, civics, money, and technology. If a character is placed in a job, these traits will have a direct effect on things, and sometimes actually give you just direct income to those resources. So for instance, if a high charisma character is your leader, then you're going to get a direct income into civics. If they were a governor instead, you'd get a percentage modifier to the civics that's produced in the city that they govern. So generally, you want to pair a character's stats with a job that's going to get the most out of them. It's not always that easy though. Characters can also have negative traits that could affect their production in one category but increase it in another. And to complicate things further, characters have an archetype, which is basically a governing trait that determines what kind of job they can do. So a scholar archetype can be a governor or ambassador, a hero could be a general, a judge could be a governor or a chancellor, and there's many different archetypes with various combinations of things they can do. Occasionally, you're presented with events giving you the chance to change the archetype of characters, so you're not always forced into one. To complicate things yet again, characters also just have generalized traits that they may pick up over time, like they might become miserable, gaining a -2 to charisma, or become honest, gaining a +1 to discipline. So how are all these things decided? Well, most of it is through random events, but for your children you can actually tutor them and really specialize them as they grow up, then determine their archetype once they join your court. There are some things that just aren't predictable though, including illnesses that can kill a child before they come of age. But aside from your direct line, other characters in your family are largely left to the mercy of RNG events to determine what they're going to be good at. Giving them certain jobs though generally means that they will get events to do with that job and typically get better at it. So putting someone in as a governor will likely improve their governor skills over time, but often at the expense of something or some sort of cost. Characters also have an opinion of you as a ruler, but right now this doesn't do that much. I played as Rome, and Romulus' brother Remus was in my court, angry with me for negative 140 opinion. Apparently this sort of dissatisfaction will cause future events to occur between characters that hate each other, but right now in the game as it stands, there doesn't seem to be much drawback to it. There's also very little in the way of character interaction. You can basically assassinate someone, give them a job, make them an heir, or marry them, and that's kind of it. I'm not really sure what you'd want to do with them really, but it just seems like there should be more here, especially when it comes to characters from other families, which we'll discuss later. Lastly, your ruler has a cognomen, a name granted to them based on the deeds that they accomplish in their lifetime. If you complete a wonder or lots of different buildings, you may earn the name the Architect, or if you win a lot of battles, you may get the Warrior. Cognomens are a great way of building up the fame of your ruler, making them better at what they do, and adding to legitimacy, which in turn grants family opinion and more orders. What this means is you're rewarded for accomplishing things with rulers, giving you lasting effects for the entire game, which can stack and then keep getting more powerful. The next unique feature to talk about is families. Your civilization is also home to 4 unique families, and when founding a city, you give ownership of it to a family, which gives the city immediate benefits, and it sort of has stacking effects with other cities belonging to the same family. Then, any units you produce from that city will also belong to the family, and governors must be from the family if they want to govern the city. The first family you choose for the first city that you're going to settle will be classed as your family. So if you pick Julius, then you'll have King Romulus of the Julius family, and your entire family tree will be the Julius family. As the Romans, the families specialize in training, growth, orders, and one that's a bit of a mixture of different things. And as I said, these are unique to Rome, so the Carthaginian families will differ in their bonuses, as will everyone else's. Now, if you're wondering why not just give every city to your own family, it's because it harms your legitimacy with each new city you create. You can do it, but it's probably just better to manage the families and specialize cities for different things. Families have an opinion of you, even your own, and you'll want to try and keep them happy through events and how you deal with them. If you make sure that families are all treated equally, that they have the same number of cities and governors, then they're going to be happier with you. If you remember as well, they'll also be happy if you have high legitimacy. If you let their cities get high discontent, or if you treat them badly with events or character interactions, then they'll become unhappy. So, what happens if they're unhappy? Well, every unit belonging to their family will get a negative to combat that stacks for every negative 100 opinion that they have. Their family members will also get a low opinion, which causes events, and their cities will spawn rebels that destroy your improvements. If they're happy, the opposite happens. They fight with a combat bonus, their family members perform better, and you occasionally may get sent gifts. Now, I don't know for sure, but I don't think there's a system in place for a civil war or for towns flipping completely. It just seems to be that rebels will spawn, but I think it would be really cool in future that if you let things get bad, you could maybe have a civil war and perhaps with espionage attempt to cause a civil war in someone else's lands. I did fail to mention that there is a spy master position that you can infiltrate into other civilizations to reveal their territory, but there's not much else you can do with them. So again, that seems like a little bit of espionage there would be perfect for it. The next feature to talk about is orders. Orders is a unique concept in Old World, and they're kind of like a global action point system. In order for anything to move or perform an action, then you need to spend orders. This means all movement, combat, and improvements built require orders to execute. And because orders are a resource, you can run out, meaning that you won't be able to do any more moves that turn. You always get some per turn, so don't worry about that. And you don't save them between turns, you actually get money back for the ones you don't use. Now, if you run out, you can buy some with certain resources to help, but it is a pretty expensive exchange rate. Like, you won't really want to be spending other resources to buy them. Now, to increase your orders per turn, you need high legitimacy, and other aspects can help too, such as having an excess of citizens, improving certain buildings, and so on. A large portion, like I said though, does come from legitimacy. And this means you need to expand your infrastructure to kind of keep up with the amount of things that you're producing. If you get thrust into a war on multiple fronts, you might not have the orders needed to fight on both sides. Or if you build a lot of workers and scouts, you might not be able to move them and perform their actions every turn until you build maybe a little taller. It's an interesting trade-off when you get into those situations, especially during wartime. Every move matters if you want to keep your economy ticking and fighting. In times of peace, you'll find that you do have a lot, and if you have some left over at the end of a turn, like I said, it is turned into money, typically for about 10 gold per order not used. So it's actually pretty good to just not use things, stay tall, and make lots of money. The next feature here isn't necessarily one feature, it's sort of a catch-all, smaller changes kind of thing. So cities operate slightly different in Old World. For one, they have to be founded on a city site. These are areas on the map that are typically guarded by tribes and barbarians. So instead of building cities anywhere, you have to clear out these tribes and build where they used to be. It sort of ensures a pretty good distance between cities, and it also leads to wars of aggression, because if you station a military unit on a city site, a settler cannot settle there. So you can kind of stake your claim on territory and provoke wars early by doing that. When cities are founded, the urban tiles will then allow you to build higher tier buildings on them later on, so cities with large sprawls of urban territory are typically favored. When it comes to city production, you have 3 types of production which govern the speed at which you make things. You have growth, training, and civics. If you're making something from one of these categories, you're using up all of its resource to do so, and that's what governs how many turns it'll take, to produce the thing. The interesting thing here is that the ones that you're not using then feed back into the global resource pool, or in case of growth, it just feeds into the city itself. So for instance, training is a global resource that allows you to promote units, and if you stop producing units in cities, you'll get more training globally and can spend it on enhancing the units that you have instead of making new ones. It's kind of an interesting trade-off. When your city grows, you gain a citizen, and you can place citizens on tiles to turn them into specialists. This takes a few turns to do so, but they enhance the resource they're on and grow your borders. So in Old World, you spend your citizens to buff your cities. Cities also connect to each other via roads and rivers as well as coastlines, and cities that connect enhance each other's growth and reduce the overall maintenance associated with citizens and specialists. The last smaller change is the tech tree. The technology tree in Old World is partly randomized. You roll technologies based on the ones that you would have available to you. So it works the same as Stellaris, sort of, where there's 5 technologies you could get, but you can only choose from 3, so those 3 are sort of randomized for you. So even though something is next in line, you might have to get other technologies first before it appears. There's also often reoccurring filler technologies such as gaining resources or units for free. Now as the game progresses, investing in certain buildings and character traits allows you to roll more technologies and even re-roll the hand you were dealt, so your options do open up more as you progress. And that's every major unique feature for Old World when comparing it to a game like Civilization. In terms of how it plays, so far I've had a lot of fun with it. I did get sent the game for free, but if it was taken away from me, I think I would buy it again to keep playing it, at least at its current sale price. For its full price, personally, I just think it's asking a little bit too much for an early access title right now for what's on offer, so I would probably wait personally. It's kind of just like a different type of Civilization game, one that focuses on one era and characters a bit more. In terms of its early access state, what's noticeably missing right now is animations and models for certain things, and combat seems to be the roughest part of the game in terms of polish. The combat's working fine, but there's barely any animations or sounds or effects, and volumes are kind of all broken and all over the place. So for me, the most fun is with building up, managing the families and characters, and reading through the events. Diplomacy is noticeably lacking as well, the tech tree is a bit limited, and there's some character interaction stuff which definitely feels unfinished. Anyways, I hope that gives you a good, well-rounded look at the game. I think if you're going to pass on it, it's definitely one to keep an eye on for how it progresses. If you want me to cover the game again when it does get updates, please consider dropping a like on the video. It really helps the video do well and grow the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh yeah, and the game's on the Epic Games Store. Bye!